My name is Boris Paskhaver, and I'm the author of Pandas in Action. Over the course of the next hour, I'm going to be showing you basically working through a sample data set using Pandas. And the topic of the hour will be working with text data. So manipulating text in all kinds of formats, whether it be uppercasing it, lowercasing it, splitting it, removing characters, adding characters, anything that you will ever want to do with text. We're going to practice doing that with a sample data set. This is actually a data set and a combination of code samples that is copied directly from a chapter in the book. So if you like what you see, feel free to check out the book, Pandas in Action, and you'll have access to basically all the code that I'm going to write today. So if you're unfamiliar with Pandas, Pandas is a data analysis library built on top of the Python programming language. It was released publicly a little over a decade ago, I believe in 2009, and it's really exploded over the last couple of years in the field of data science and data analytics. So Python now has a huge ecosystem of data science tools that incorporate all kinds of complex disciplines, statistics, machine learning, natural language processing, etc. But no matter what domain or field you're working with, you're going to have to manipulate data or contort it in some way, shape, or form. And Pandas is sort of the ecosystem, the epicenter rather, of that ecosystem in the Python data science community. So it's a general all-purpose data analysis toolkit. So anything that you can do in a graphical spreadsheet application like Excel or Google Sheets, you can also do in Pandas. Of course, the advantage of using a programming language is you gain the benefits of things like automation. Programming languages are really good at repetition. You gain repeatability. You gain the advantages of being able to use your code across multiple files, repeat them. In a coding environment such as this one, which we're staring at right now on the screen, this is Jupyter Notebook. You also have the ability to walk through step by step the logic that you used to solve a problem. So unlike an Excel spreadsheet where you just get the final result, here you can actually see how an analyst reached their conclusion rather than just their final numbers. So whether it be telling the story of data or automating it, or even just exploring a new technical domain, growing your expertise, because it never hurts to learn to program because it can help you in so many different aspects of your life and your efficiency. Pandas is a really great jumping point. It's a really great tool to learn if you are an Excel analyst and you're looking to pick up the next cool thing, if you will. So what I want to do in this next hour, of course, is just walk you through a data set, show you how you can do some common text-based operations, and we'll take it from there. So we are in this environment called the Jupyter Notebook, and the first thing I need to do here is actually import my Pandas library. So you, of course, need to have this set up on your computer, including Pandas. We're not going to spend time on that tonight because it might take a while to set it up, but of course, all of that is covered in the book. And if you're not interested in the book, you can always check out the Pandas documentation as well for a complete installation guide. So I'll begin by importing my Pandas library. And usually it's assigned the alias PD. And at the top level of this library, you can think of it almost like the lobby of the library, kind of the entrance to it. We have a whole bunch of available functions for reading a file into our program. So there's a function here called read CSV. And again, if you're unfamiliar with the word function, it works the exact same way as it does in Excel. It's just a procedure. It's some kind of operation that we can tell the library to do for us. So in this case, I'm literally saying, Pandas, read this CSV for me. So in the exact same directory where I have this Jupyter Notebook, I have a sample CSV file that I'm going to use for this tutorial. And it is called Chicago Food Inspections.csv. And for now, I'm just going to execute the cell so we can preview what it looks like. This was copied, I believe, directly from the city of Chicago's government website. So it's a list of restaurants or food institutions throughout the city of Chicago. We have the name right here on the left. And we also have the risk that was assigned to it based on a food inspector's analysis. So obviously, restaurants have all kinds of risk problems like rats or unclean utensils or anything like that. So this is the actual public data that's available. So if you're curious about finding out which restaurants or which chains have the most violations, things like that, you can find those kinds of stories in a data set like this. And immediately upon importing, we can see that there's already some kind of text issues here, right? So for example, these names in the left-hand column are all in uppercase, and some here we can see are all in lowercase. The risk column doesn't appear to be too bad, but it's kind of capturing a lot of different information. For example, you might just be interested in getting the number of the risk, like 1 or 2 or 3. So a question might be, how do we extract just that numeric component from this column, things like that. So all of these kinds of questions we'll be talking about very shortly. So what we're seeing here to the human eye, of course, is basically a table. It's a combination of rows and columns, much like you'd work with in Excel. But in Pandas, this type of data structure is called a data frame. Pretty simple. A data frame is just the equivalent of a table. It's a combination of rows and columns. The column is the observation, or sorry, the variable. The column name is a description of what is being stored in that column. And then each row represents one record, right? So the name for the first restaurant is the Marriott Marquis Chicago, and the value for the risk column is risk 1. And the same logic applies for all the records in the data frame. At the bottom here, you can see we have 153,000 rows and 2 columns in this data frame. So what I'm going to do is save this to a variable. I'm going to save it to a variable called inspections. And basically that just allows me to reuse the data frame later in this notebook. And I'm going to use a method here on a data frame called head. A method is just a function that we can call or invoke upon a data frame. And what the head method does is just show us the first 5 rows. So rather than outputting the entire data frame, I'm just going to take a look at the first 5 rows, just so I have a point of reference as we proceed. So let's first focus on the name column on the left. Let's take a look at some of the manipulations we can do on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to actually just extract that column, target it. So I'm going to do inspections, which is my data frame, and I can access a single column through square brackets. And in here, I can provide a string with the column name that I want to access. In this case, the name of my column is actually name. So I'm going to write that out. And this is going to return to me another type of object in Pandas called a series. A series is a one-dimensional labeled array. The simplest way I can describe it is as a single column, while a data frame is a two-dimensional data structure, meaning there's more than one point of reference that is needed to extract any given value. So for example, if I was targeting Jet's Pizza, I would need to know both the row and the column number in order to get to this value. Because I need 2 points of reference, it is a two-dimensional data frame, or two-dimensional data structure. In comparison, the series, which we see right here, is a one-dimensional data structure because you only need 1 point of reference to extract any value from it. So for example, if I wanted to get to the value room 1520, I only need 1 point of reference, which is this number to the left here. If you're curious, by the way, about these numbers on the left, this is what's called the index. And essentially, it's just assigning each row a place in line starting from 0. So the very first row is assigned position 0. The next one is assigned position 1, so on and so forth to the end. And so each row is assigned kind of its own unique identifier by which we can access it. So the index doesn't have to be numeric. This is just a default that Pandas relies upon because we haven't given it any kind of identifiers by which we should use to locate or find each row. So it just says, since you're not going to give me a custom set of identifiers, I'm just going to assume that you want these rows ordered sequentially, and I'm going to start that count at 0 and give you that information here on the left. It may not be super apparent right now, but there's additional problems that are starting to emerge from this column of data or from this series that we weren't quite seeing when we were looking at it right here in the big picture. So notice we also have white space. If I highlight right here with my mouse, you can see there's additional white space characters to the right of Chicago. And the same rules apply, by the way, we can't see it, to the beginning of text as well as to many other rows in the series. So we have white space at the beginning and white space at the end. So let's first talk about how we can remove that. So on any series object like this one, we have an attribute. An attribute is almost like a property. It's just something you can access on the given data structure. It's a characteristic or detail that may sometimes expose other nested objects or data structures that we can deal with. So the syntax is going to be .str. And if I just output this result, you can see it's a nested object on our series called string methods. And it's on this object that we can call all kinds of methods that will manipulate the series. All right, we'll take a look at how to do that in just a moment. For now, I want to do a quick review of some of these string manipulation operations in just vanilla Python. So for example, if I have a sample word, I'm just going to create a word variable here and assign it to a word like cheesecake. And what I'm also going to do is add some white space at the beginning and the end of this word, just so we have something to work with. Here's our word. There are a bunch of methods related to removing white space that we can utilize. First up, we have the rstrip method on a string in Python. That is short for right strip, and it strips or removes white space from the right side of the string. So if we take a look at this output and we compare it to the one above, here you can see in my original word string, there is white space to the right of cheesecake. Here it's removed. If I want to do the same thing to the left side, there is a complementary strip method called lstrip. Makes sense, right? L for left, left strip. That removes the white space on the left side of the string. So if you compare it right here and this output right here, you can see the left-hand white space has been removed. If you want to target both sides simultaneously, there is a method called strip by itself. No L or R, just strip by itself. So you can see right now, we're going to get cheesecake and all of the white space has been removed. So if we want to use any of these string methods, they're all going to be available, but instead of calling them on a single string like we're doing right here, we obviously need to call them on every single value within our Pandas series object. So we want to tell Pandas, take this string, Marriott Marquis Chicago, call strip on that, then do the same thing for Jets Pizza, then do the same thing for room 1520, all the way through the 150,000 rows in this data frame or series. So on this str object, you simply invoke another method, and it's going to be the same familiar Python methods that we see above. So for example, if I want to remove the white space at the beginning of each string or the left side, I can call lstrip on this nested str object on the series, and we're going to get a brand new series with all of the white space from the beginning removed. I may be able to highlight it, but I assure you it's going to be removed. Same rules apply if I want to remove it from the right side. Instead of invoking the lstrip method, I can simply invoke the rstrip method. You can see right here the white space is removed. And probably what I want in this scenario, of course, is to remove all of them from both sides. So I can call the general strip method, and that's going to give me the series that I want with all of the white space from both sides, beginning and end, removed. So what this is going to give me is a brand new series, meaning my original one in my data frame has not been affected. I still have the data as it came in from the CSV. So if I want to make this operation permanent, I simply need to reassign this new series to my original series. So what I'm going to do is use an equal sign here. In programming, the right side is evaluated first. So I'm going to grab the new series generated on the right-hand side with all the white space removed, and I'm going to reassign it back to its original slot, the name column in my inspections data frame. And if I take a look at my inspections data frame afterwards, all of the white space has been removed. In fact, I can even combine traditional Python iteration protocols with what I did above to ensure that every single column has its white space removed. So what I can do, for example, is get a list of all of my data frames columns. So here we have the columns of name and risk. It's available as this columns attribute on my inspections data frame object. And what I can do is use something like a traditional Python for loop. So for each column in this list that I see above, I want to basically perform this logic right here. I'm going to copy it and put it here. But of course, rather than writing to my name column, I want to write to whatever column it is that I happen to be dynamically iterating over in the current iteration, which is going to be represented by my column for variable right here. And if I replace it on both sides of the equal sign and run this, now I'm going to ensure that every column in my data frame has had its white space removed. Okay, so next up, let's take a look at casing. It's going to be pretty much the same thing we've been doing earlier. We're going to be accessing the str attribute on our Pandas series, and we're going to be calling some kind of method on it to manipulate the values within that series. So first up, let's talk about lowering, meaning lower casing all of our data. So once again, I'm going to target my name column. And let's say I want to lowercase all of the characters across all of these strings. So once again, .str, the Python method that you traditionally call on a string is called lower. It's the exact same logic here, except we're using it on the str attribute, or more specifically, the object that that attribute exposes. So right here, we're going to get a series object with all of the strings in lowercase format. There is a complementary upper method, which is going to uppercase the letters. I believe towards the end of our series, if I take a look at the end of it with the tail method, you can see we have a couple that are in all lowercase, or at least have some letters in lowercase. So I'm just going to call the upper method right here on this small series of 5 values, just so you can see the result. You are, of course, welcome to call it on the entire series as a whole. But right here, .str.upper, and you can see all of the letters are going to be in all uppercase. So this is all uppercase right here, and this is, of course, all lowercase. All right, there's a couple other complementary ones that can prove pretty helpful, especially if we take a look at what we're doing here. So here's my original column again, nothing has changed. What I think would be best here, of course, is to capitalize the first letter of every word, right? That's the way I would traditionally expect to see a restaurant name listed. So Python does have a capitalize method, but it actually capitalizes only the first letter of every string. So this one will give us one result, but it's not necessarily what we want. You can see the M in Marriott right here is capitalized, but the M in Marquee and the C in Chicago are not. So if you actually want to capitalize the first letter of every word, and every word, of course, is separated by a space, there is an automatic method available called title, which does just that. What title is going to do is capitalize the first letter of each word. Now, it's not perfect. For example, when it looks at Jet's Pizza, it thinks that the the apostrophe after the T is indicative of a separation, and thus it thinks the S right here should be capitalized. So it's not perfect, but you can see for most of the results, it does exactly what we wanted it to do, which is to capitalize the first letter of every subsequent word. We can also see it does the same thing with the slash, which gives us a capital B in Baskin-Robbins when it was originally a lowercase b. So we can see it does a pretty good job with slashes, with apostrophes, with spaces, but it isn't perfect. Those are some quick manipulations as far as casing goes. We saw upper, lower, capitalize, title, and we also explored the strip family of methods, which removes white space.